Okay, good afternoon. Welcome. We're going to have our afternoon seminar here, and Jennifer is going to share with us again. This time it's on marriage. Our speaker is the head of a ministry that is called Anchors of Grace. And the first time I think we met her was at a pastor's retreat last summer and got to speak with her. Very much a blessing. And so we just look forward to your presentation. Her approach is relational, biblically grounded, focused on helping individuals and families find restoration and renewed strength in Christ. So Jennifer, share with us.
And thanks for letting me come back again this afternoon, not kicking me out after this morning. Appreciate it. Let's have a word of prayer again before we start. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. May you help us as we talk about marriage and relationships and just guide our conversations. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, glad to be here again. I want to introduce a little piece of myself. I went to college in Tennessee, Southern Adventist University. I had an undergrad in theology, and my husband did too. So this one day, it was Valentine's Day. It was a Valentine's Day, February 14th, and my husband and I were dating. And I had a feeling that something was going to happen that day. We weren't married yet. We were just dating, boyfriend, girlfriend. Something was going to happen that day. I worked at Cece's Pizza. I told you that earlier. And I left Cece's Pizza the night before Valentine's Day. And I told everybody, I'm going to get engaged this weekend. And sure enough, I wake up in the morning of Valentine's, and my husband brings over a card. He did not propose in the morning, but he brings, oh, this is him. This is him now, not like years ago. He brought over a card that he'd handwritten. It said one life, one love, one Lord, and gave me one rose and asked me to go on a date with him that night. And I'm like, all right, yep, here it comes. Here it comes. Like, be ready. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. So I get all ready for the date that night. He picks me up and he takes me to Ruby Falls. Have any of you guys ever been to Ruby Falls? Yeah, it's an underground underground waterfall. And you go in and you go in this elevator and you go down like, I don't know, 20 floors it feels like. I don't know if it's really that far or not, but a ways down this elevator. And then it's kind of commercialized cave, so it's got like the walkways and rails and stairs and all that, not like one of those like roughing it caves. And we start walking, and as we're walking back, like I'm holding his hand, and it's feeling like clammy and sweaty. And I'm like, oh, it's getting closer. It's getting closer. He's about to pop the question. He's got to be. And like, then he starts like shaking a little bit. And we get to the back of the cave, and the waterfall's there. And I'm like wanting to go see the waterfall. And he's like, wait, right here. I'm like, okay. And then he gets down on one knee and he tells me, I don't know, some beautiful things and asks me if I'll marry him. I don't remember everything he said, but because it was just a moment. And I'm like, of course I'll marry you. And then they start playing like this uh, beautiful classical music, and they put the lights on the waterfall, and it comes down, and we walk behind the waterfall, and this like magical moment. And in that magical moment, you feel like it's going to be happily ever after, right? Sometimes you got the rose colored glasses on when you're young and you're getting married. Like, we're not going to have problems. Other people might have problems, but not us. We're going to be fine. And we started, I did say yes. I said yes. Like, and 20 years later, 22 almost years later, we are still together, and these are our two kids, Nathan and Sierra. Nathan's 19, Sierra 17. Has it been happily ever after? For a large part, it has, but it hasn't been without challenges and without problems. Like, there's been times where we had to work through stuff, where he frustrated me to no ends, and we had to figure out how to get through it. There were other times where, he's a pastor, and pastors can be very, very busy and a little bit distracted. And there were times when it was really hard to get his attention that we needed help with the kids. So over time, just things can build up and things can happen that cause marriage problems. So we want to look at some of those and some of the strategies surrounding those too. There's one primary one, but before we get there, I want to just go into a couple other things first. So here's some factors that can affect how I show up in my marriage, which can affect the marriage relationship, right? So one of those is childhood trauma. Things happen early on in our life that can affect us, and sometimes those things that we bring into marriage. In my counseling office, some of the things that I see that can really affect marriages is there's a lot of them, but early exposure to pornography can result in the pornography showing up in the marriage, which can create problems in the marriage and create like feelings of betrayal and that kind of thing. Also, history of having a personal history of sexual abuse can sometimes show up in different ways in the relationship. A personal history of just abuse, and That can show up in different ways. Sometimes it can show up in like not fully being able to trust somebody. And if you're not fully able to trust, then sometimes the spouse can feel not trusted and like, why am I not trusted? Sometimes past like relationship baggage going along with that. And like my husband, he had a girlfriend before me. He's my first boyfriend and my only love, and I do love him still. Um, but he had a girlfriend before me and ended up watching his girlfriend kissing another guy while he was dating her. So he has some of that trauma from being betrayed. So every like great once in a while, some of that comes out a little bit, and it's like everything's innocent here. I'm not doing anything. Like it's all good. Like I would tell you, I would never do anything to hurt you or do anything like that. But we've had to work through some of that once in a while, here and there. Not all the time. If it's all the time, that's a big problem. Once in a while, it was still a problem that we had to work through. But just past relationship stuff and childhood trauma can affect us in different ways. And if you were here this morning, sometimes those early things can also just create those reactions, trauma reactions, anxiety reactions, the triggers that can cause the fight or flight. And those can create reactive problems in the marriage that can show up. Also, you know how what affects how I show up in the marriage: anxiety, depression, bipolar, grief, ADHD, medical issues can affect how I show up. Doesn't mean the marriage can't work through them, but it can affect it. Now, I have ADHD and anxiety. I'm fun to live with. And my husband, like, we grew up opposite. um I grew up like my dad had cancer a lot, so and my mom had to work to like support us financially. So cleaning in our house happened on Fridays. It would get messy, messy, messy during the week, and then we would try to clean up for Sabbath. My husband, on the other hand, lived with a mom, and she was a single mom too, but she kept her house like spick and span, like not anything got set anywhere for like 2 seconds before it got cleaned up. And so you put the two of us together. And with my ADHD and his like need to have this stuff clean because his mom had it clean, like it can be a struggle sometimes. My husband, I'll tell you, is not the one that the laundry doesn't quite make it to the laundry basket. That'd be me. That'd definitely be me. The less organized one. Me, like the messy on the bedside table. That's me. His is nice and organized and clean. You open his drawers and everything's like stacked so neatly. You open my drawers and it's like this big scrambled mess. But I know where it's at. I can find it. But it creates some conflict sometimes, and we've had to learn how to work through it, right? So it can just affect how I show up in the relationship in different ways. But here's some factors that create problems in marriage. One, slowly allowing things to pull you apart, life to just pull you apart. Life can be busy, and we can like be engaged in lots and lots and lots of different things, right? uh, Whether it's shopping, kids, work, all kinds of different things where we start here close together and connected, and just slowly over time, we find ourselves like looking at each other like, I don't even really know you. Like, I just feel distance in the relationship and not as much connection, not as much friendship. A lot of times we stop dating our mates. When we stop dating our mates, sometimes we're not working on that friendship system. And so we feel more like, uh, sometimes people feel more like roommates, strangers living in one house. I talked with someone that like hadn't slept in the same room together in like 10 years. I'm like, okay, let's work on that. And there's lots of different reasons why these things happen, but it's just a challenge. Another one is communication problems. This one's huge, 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 huge. because how we communicate with each other says a lot to the other person. Says I love you, says I care about you, says I'm frustrated with you, says I'm angry with you, says like I don't want to be with you, like all kinds of different things that we can say to each other with the communication problems. And we're going to look at 4 communication problems here and their antidotes as well. So some of the communication problems that cause problems, this is done by Gottman, and they looked at the 4 communications problems that often occur in couples who get divorces. Not that like you might have some of these, but if you got all 4, whew, we need to do some work. Okay. So, but you might have 1 or 2 and we can work through it. Criticism is one, and that is one that shows up sometimes in my family. My dad, my husband grew up with a dad who was very, very critical of him. That's one of those things that from childhood, it can kind of stream in. So once in a while, sometimes there is some criticism that kind of comes out that we got to talk about. And I got to express like how I'm feeling about it. Now I can do 1 of 2 things when the criticism shows up. I can use gentle startup to talk about it, or I can get defensive. So if you got him being critical and me being defensive, then what happens? It turns into a fight. It turns into like an argument, and then there's hurt, and there's all this kind of stuff. Which instead, if I use gentle startup and I say, "Hey, I'm feeling kind of hurt by what was just said," and like, "Oh, okay, we could talk about it now." But if we're just going like this, we can't talk about it. We can't communicate through it. We can't work through it. It's much more difficult. Defensiveness is another one. Like, because if he can't talk to me, hey, honey, I'm a little frustrated that I can't walk to the bathroom without tripping over your clothes. And I'm like, my clothes deserve there. This is my house too. What's wrong with my clothes being there? That's not very helpful. It's not going to help us work through things, right? I need to be able to take responsibility. Like, oh, yes, I know it has been a busy week. Let me get up and move those for you. I need to take responsibility instead of being defensive. And that helps in communication and relationships. A third one is contempt. Contempt goes beyond criticism. Criticism is more like frustrated with something. Contempt is really something you've done. Contempt is really like more of almost starting towards a hatred of who you are instead of just what happened or what you did. Like it really goes towards attacking the character of the person. Like you're so and people can say all kinds of things when the bitterness and the hate and the resentment is built up, or just when the relationship is very unhealthy or one or the other parties is very unhealthy. That contempt can creep in there, and just some mean things can get said. Whether it's, hey, you're so lazy, or you're so whatever. I don't even want to say all the things that I could hear people say sometimes. And what we want to do instead of that is describe your own feelings and needs. I'm feeling like attacked right now. I would appreciate it if we could talk about this more calmly, right? Rather than you're always so angry and so like, like it doesn't really help resolve things. So we want to describe my own feelings and my own needs rather than just casting everything on everybody else. Right? I got to take responsibility. The other one is stonewalling. This is kind of when you just shut down and like not talking to the other person and not being able to communicate with them about it. And this isn't healthy for relationships, because if we stonewall and we don't ever work through things, then we just have a lot of built up resentment and bitterness over time that if we let it go on too long, it creates a lot of challenges in the relationship and can be really hard to heal from later on. So what we need to do is do some physiological self-soothing, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Go on a walk, do some deep breathing, things like that. Express that you're overwhelmed, that you need a break, and then come back to the conversation rather than just blocking somebody off. from communication. Any questions, comments right there? Okay, I'm gonna keep going then, because we still got to get to the big one. So the big one that I feel, I mean, these are all bigs, but the biggest one I feel is a lack of safety or invalidation in the relationship. And when I'm saying this, like some people are like, lack of safety. We don't have a lack of safety in our relationship. I don't know that I need to be here and I don't know that I need to listen to this. However, like safety goes to a deeper level. It's not just safety, it's security, like a deep security in the relationship. Um, and we're going to dive into this a bit and things that can create feelings of a lack of security or a lack of safety in the relationship, which some of these can, like that we already talked about, right? If you have someone that's contemptful towards you, are you going to feel very safe or secure in the relationship? No. If you have someone that's just being defensive every time you want to talk to them about something, bring something up, are you going to feel safe to bring your feelings forward? Not really, because they're just being defensive. Or criticism. Like if you try to do something, whatever it might be, and someone just criticizes you for it, like it, how's that going to make you feel? Like a space that you want to be in? Not really, right? So I have some drawings to show you. I'm not a very good artist, but I'm a better artist like when I'm creating it through digitally that you just have to like kind of put it together. If I was to try to draw a stick figure, it would look terrible. But this is kind of what a lot of people picture a marriage to look like, right? I'm responsible for you, you're responsible for me, and we're just kind of this one unit. But it's actually, there's a drawing that Focus on the Family does to kind of illustrate a healthier rendition of marriage that I want to walk you guys through that I find helpful. So here's the drawing that they do, and we're kind of going to go through this element by element. So the outer line here represents a boundary around the relationship. And outside of that boundary are things that we don't want to allow in our marriage to protect the marriage. What are, I want some audience participation here. What are some of those things that you don't want in your marriage ever, ever, ever to come in? Like that you're like, in our marriage, in our relationship, these are things that belong outside. Anybody? Yes, thank you. A third person. Yep. Excellent. Don't want it in the relationship. What else? Yeah. Pornography. Okay, good. Yeah. Anybody else? Oh, overworking. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, what else? Don't want in there. Yeah, financial like dishonesty or something or financial problems. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That can be violence, right? We don't want violence in the relationship ever, ever. Um, you could also put up their name calling. It's not very kind, not very safe to fill. The second thing is, so the first one is a boundary. We've got certain things we want to keep out that we never want to let in our circle as a family or as a marriage. Second piece is to this is both people are still individuals. Right? I'm still a person. You're still a person. And we still want to be able to treat each other like human beings. Sometimes we act the worst towards our family members. And we would not treat our family members the way that we treat other people that we interact with in society. Like I mean, I worked with I heard this story from one person that I knew that their wife when she got upset and for her it was a postpartum, no, not postpartum, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is right before your period. Your hormones go crazy. and you're not your normal self. And during this week of the month, like there was so much anger and so much resentment and so much bitterness. It just escalated during that time of the month to the point where, like, you know, if you were the husband, you might get things thrown at you from across the room, or plates thrown against walls and broken, and that kind of thing. And can you imagine if she went to work and started doing that to people at work? But sometimes we don't treat our family the same way we treat other people, and that creates a problem, right? So we want to be able to treat each other like we're both human beings still, and remember that we are still human beings. And we're going to dive into that a little bit more here in a minute. The other thing about this model I like is remembering that not only are we human beings, we're also children of God. Like the other person that we're married to is also a child of God. And like, how do we want to treat a child of God? With respect, with gentleness, with care, because they're also a person that Jesus died for on the cross. And we want to have a relationship with God, each one of ourselves, and then also like realize that each person is a child of God, and deserves to be treated like someone that God died for. Right? Oh, there we go. Let's see. The next thing is, because each person is still an individual, each person is responsible for taking care of themselves physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Like my partner cannot go out and run 5 miles for me and it help my body, right? I have to do that. He can't go get his blood work done and tell me how my met levels are doing. Right? I have to care for myself physically. He can't do it for me. As much as he might want to tell me to, or she might want to tell him to, it has to be like me that takes care of myself physically. Emotionally, the same. Like there are certain things that can, and this one is challenging because emotionally, is the other person also need to care for me emotionally? Yes, they need to help create that safe space, which we're going to get into. But also, like, they can't be fully responsible for my emotions. I have to be responsible for my own emotions and for taking care of myself emotionally, also mentally. If I want to like grow my knowledge, I can't be like, honey, can you read this book for me? And then I'm going to gain that knowledge from you reading that book. Doesn't work like that. We have to take care of ourselves mentally. If there's something we want to learn, some area we want to grow in, we have to put the energy and effort into that. And same with spiritually. Like, although I do like want the guy to be the head of the household and to lead spiritually, like he can't develop my relationship with God fully. He can help support it, but my relationship with God is between me and God. And I do want him to help to support it and to be with me on that journey, but I still have responsibility there for that relationship with God. So we're responsible for taking care of ourselves in each of those ways. And that's important to remember because how we take care of ourselves in those ways affect how we show up in the circle. And the circle, this is like the secret ingredient right here, which we've already been talking about. But in between the circle and this representation, you have a space that's called the interactive space. And then this is the space where you're all to, like, you're both together. So see the dotted lines around the boy and around the girl, you can come in and out of. You can't go outside that boundary, but the interactive space in there, you can come in it and you can go out of it. Now, if the circle doesn't feel safe, do you want to be in that circle? No, you don't want to be in that circle. So the most important thing in marriage is to keep that space safe, to keep that space a place that both of you want to be. Because if you don't want to be in there, you're going to slowly start not being there. Something that we see that can happen, especially with like first responders, pastors, but also in other professions as well, is you can go to work, and even if work is stressful, work can be stressful, you can be on, things like that. But then you like go home, and when you go home, it's like You know, sometimes there's conflicts, sometimes there's things that happen. And then you go to work and people are like, oh, we appreciate you being here. We love you being here. Then you go home and it's like, you know, and then you start feeling like, oh, do I even want to be there? And you start not going home and starting to not go into the space. Now, there's other reasons why too that I'm not going to go into here, but we can start like not just sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, even just start not interacting as much as we used to be. That's where some of that distancing can happen. And there's lots of different things can make this feel like a space we don't want to be in. Like, just don't come in here right now, right? We want it to feel like this, where like you're welcome to come in. Like if you look at, I mean, just looking in the circles, you look at that is a place that you'd want to be. And you look at this one, is it a place you'd want to be? It's like, oh, it already is saying stay away, stay away. And it's just a little triangle with an exclamation point, right? Um, so we want to be somewhere where we know that we're protected, we're cared for, we're wanted, and that our hearts are held and that our hearts are safe and secure. But is this a situation where you want to be in there a lot? If this is what you find when you go into this space where you're arguing with each other, disagreeing a lot, is it kind of black, white, yes, no, yes, no. Do you want to go in there very much? No. You're like, that doesn't sound great, right? How about this one? You want to go in there? No, thank you. uh, you can stay in that circle by yourself, please. I'm not coming in there. How about that one? You want to go in that circle? Nope. Ooh, how about that one? And he's even got flowers. He's trying to come into that circle with flowers. Even flowers didn't help that circle. Right? Ooh, how about this one? Now there's a lot of anger there. It's just kind of standoffish, not turning toward you, kind of turning away and not really engaging. Is that somewhere you want to be a lot? You might try, because maybe if I keep trying, maybe I'll be able to engage the other person. But after a while, they kind of give up and start coming in the circle less and less because they're having a hard time getting you to be engaged. Oh, that one? Like, nope. I was just having fun at this point. I'm like, I think the point got made, but it was so fun, like finding these different ones. But you know, if you keep going to the circle and you find a lot of these things over and over and over, it can leave you sad. It can leave you confused. It can leave you emotionally with anxiety, with depression, with other kinds of things that are going on. And that's difficult and that's a challenge, especially if um, home is supposed to be a place that you can come and that it can be safe. Because we go out into the world and not everywhere else are we met with safety or with kind people or with um, situations that are healthy for us. So we want home to be a space that's healthy. And if we go out in the environment and that's not healthy, and we come home and that's not healthy, then we essentially have no safe place to go. And that's where emotional health stuff can really start stacking up when we have nowhere safe to go. Um, it can be a challenge. Yes. Yes. Mm. Mm-hmm. Have it outside of the not being willing to listen, outside of the on the outside of the boundary, outside of the boundary. Yeah, thank you for that comment. Um, and we're gonna get into some more of those things that can create that feeling of lack of safety because there's a lot of different ones. And here's some of them. I hope that it's big enough for you guys to see it. I might have to. I got a recommendation to make my slides a little bigger, but I didn't have time before this afternoon, so I'll work on that. So hopefully you can see it. If not, feel free to come up afterwards. I can have you take pictures of it. But here's some problems of safety and security problems. One is escalation. This is discussing issues when discussing issues turns into an escalated fight. If we're escalating and fighting with each other, like, is it it's not, it doesn't feel safe anymore. And now I know that I'm not saying the answer is to not discuss things. We have to discuss things, even hard things that are going to create some conflict. What we need to do is be able to learn the communication skills to be able to discuss conflict without it turning into an escalation. If it always turns into an escalation, then, like, we can't work through things, because escalations don't often end with us working through things. They often end with us just separating ways, and we don't ever want to touch the subject again because it didn't go so great last time. And do I want to come into the same circle with you and talk about that again if that's how it went last time? Not necessarily so, right? Sometimes we can work through it, but in other situations it's like, and that escalation over time, it doesn't make us feel safe. Doesn't make a person feel safe and secure in the relationship. Also, controlling. If someone's controlling over finances, over going places, stalking, feeling a lack of ability to have freedom, to have friends, to leave the house, this one does get more into more like of a domestic violence kind of type of relationship, where there's just a lot of control from one person and not much freedom from the other person. And we want to be careful with that one. I mean, you can have some like low levels of this that aren't so much that, but then you can have some higher levels that are getting there, and that ties into physical abuse too, hitting, pushing, blocking, coming towards when angry. If someone's coming towards you when you're angry, just like some of those little pictures we saw that were funny, but they're so true, right? I heard a story about that. Like, somebody was upset in this situation. It was a guy, and he would just start coming towards the wife in anger. And how did that make her feel? Scared, right? I had a situation. This was not between couples, but between like siblings sometimes, where it even happens in sibling relationships. One comes towards, the other one gets reactive, and it's like you start getting into a pushing match. It's like, all right, let's calm the situation down. With kids, we expect it, but when it's happening in adult relationships, it's not appropriate in marriage or in a relationship, and it's not inviting someone to be with you either. Towering over, that's another one. If you're towering over, you're trying to be in a position of control and superiority, like, and that doesn't go well for relationships. It doesn't create security. Not having a voice, and this one isn't necessarily like in the kind of abusive category. It can be, but it also cannot be. And just one partner's opinions and decisions tend to dominate someone else's. Now, sometimes it's because some of us people pleasers don't quite know how to express our voice. And so we just allow a more dominant partner to their decisions and stuff like that to just be what goes. But that's not healthy for the relationship, because sometimes deep down, as a people pleaser, you're not really okay with the decision and the pathway that it's going. And if you're not really okay with it and it doesn't go well, the decision doesn't go very well, you tend to build up like frustration and like, oh, I shouldn't have chosen that. And or she shouldn't have done that, whichever way it can be. It can go both ways. And then if that builds up to that level, then it's, we get to a point where sometimes the people pleaser blows. And then the other person's like, where did that come from? Like, we talked about this. You didn't say anything against it. You seemed fine with it. What was the problem? And why didn't you express a problem? Like, and then it just doesn't feel fair to the other person that they weren't given an opportunity earlier on to, like, I didn't even know there was a problem here. The blindsides them, right? So we as people pleasers, if you're a people pleaser, we have to learn to express herself and to have a voice. And so sometimes it's a situation where one person just wants to be dominant and dominates on purpose. That's more in the getting to abusive category. The other situation is someone's just making decisions because the other person's not giving a lot of input, and decisions have to be made, because they're not comfortable giving input. So like, just for people pleasers, find your voice and be comfortable sharing your voice. Insensitivity is another one. Sensitive topics are made fun of and not listened to and put down, and that one hurts, because there's sometimes when there's something that's bothering someone, and if we broach it to bring it up, we're already being courageous and we want to be heard and listened to. And when the other person mocks it, puts it down, makes light of it, um, like isn't sensitive to the concern, then it like doubles a hurt. Uh, and so we need to be able to be willing to listen and to hear and to recognize that our partner's feelings are valid, even if we don't agree with them. They're still feelings and they're still valid and need to be heard and cared for and listened to, rather than criticized, made fun of, put down, and mocked. Um, and then another one that can create security problems is being inconsistent. uh, I can't say that I'm the best at this one. Forgetting to pick up the kids, pay the bills, etc., like that, can sometimes create some lack of security. Um, and my ADHD brain, I do not always remember everything. I'm working on that. Now, sometimes you just get old, and your memory is not as great as it was. And I do have some thyroid issues too, which creates a bad short-term memory. So it's even worse right now, but you know, I'm just being defensive right now. I got to work on that. So we need to be consistent, because if we're not, and we say we're going to do something and then we don't do it, then it creates this lack of trust. And like, are you really safe? Like, can I really trust that you're going to do it? This, especially with something like picking up the kids or not paying the electric bill, because then are we not going to have electricity in the wintertime? Is the kid just going to be standing there, like, where it's a real big safety issue? Those ones are kind of crucial, and go a little deeper towards building up that lack of trust. Our other examples. These ones are the other ones were a little more extreme. These are probably more ones that more people might see showing up in their relationship. Parent-child communication. Someone's laughing at one of them. I'm not sure which one. Parent-child communication, talking to the spouse as though they were a child. This one happens a lot. Um, and sometimes it can happen like with even with ADHD. I just know I'm saying ADHD a lot because I struggle with it, but I see it in my office a lot. I see one spouse that has ADHD and the other spouse doesn't. And so the one that doesn't often like kind of tries to take this parent role, and the other one gets the child role. And then the parent role starts talking to the child role, and sometimes even starts like doing things for them, and then gets frustrated that they got to do all these things. And I'm like, just don't do it. Stop doing it. Like, you're creating some of the problem here. You gotta have some boundaries, right? But because that parentification of one spouse over the other, it doesn't go well over the long haul. And we have to step back and remember we are actually both adults. And like, we can make choices and we can learn from our choices, even if that learning is hard. I mean, one of the things my husband did for me that was good, is he started like when he was working at the Pacific Press, he had 3 days off a week. I'm working like 5 days, like, so my schedule was busier than his. So he started doing the laundry, which was a huge help. But he got frustrated that I wasn't putting my laundry back in the laundry basket. So he set a boundary for me, and he told me, all right, honey, I'm only going to do the laundry that's in the laundry basket. I'm like, oh, all right. That's fair. but that's a way, like, to stop the parent child like relationship there and stuff. Just set a boundary and then don't do it anymore, and then you don't have their built up resentment that of man, I had to pick up your laundry and put it in the laundry basket and then go do it. Like, no, he doesn't have that anymore. Like, I have to do my own if it's not in a laundry basket. Which I don't have time for. So, and I still don't make it all to the laundry basket. Isn't that terrible? It is. But okay, invalidation, deliberately or ah, man, I made that too small. Deliberately or subtly putting down another's thoughts, emotions, or character. You're invalidating somebody, and that does not feel good. It does not make you feel secure in the relationship to be invalidated um, over and again. And this, it's a lot of stories about myself. Like this one just happened not that long ago, and we had to talk about it. My son went downhill mountain biking. He's 19 years old, so he's older now. But it was like a big downhill mountain bike from Bogus Basin Ski Mountain. Anybody ever been to Bogus Mountain Basin? But it's up, like, you drive up this hill like 13 miles around this windy road, and then you get to the top, and then they have like backcountry trails that go the whole way down. It's so much fun. I wasn't with him this time. Well, he comes home and he's like, Mom, I fell off my bike twice. I'm like, oh, did you get hurt? He's like, well, my foot doesn't feel so good. I'm like, all right, I should probably look at that. So I looked at it one day and it was all swollen. Like his toe was all swollen and back into his foot was swollen. And I'm like, we probably better watch that a little bit. He's like, I think I'm okay. I'm not sure, but I think I'm okay. I'm like, all right, we'll give it a day or two and we'll kind of assess it in a couple of days. So the couple of days came and I'm not a medical person, but my mom's taught me a little bit about like broken bones and different things to look for with broken bones. And I don't know for sure. You don't know until you get an x-ray. But I'm a mom. I'm concerned about his foot. So I'm like, oh yeah, let's look at that foot again, kiddo. And because he was complaining about it again. And so, and I'd seen it from a distance earlier and I saw that it was black and blue. And I'm like, well, maybe just that could be okay, but better look at it and just make sure. So, I had to take his sock off and I was looking at it. And right at that point, my husband comes in and he's like, why are you playing nurse with our son? You're not a nurse. Stop pretending like you're a nurse. And I was like, I got reactive. It totally, my amygdala totally took over and hijacked my prefrontal cortex right then. And I was like, uh, frustrated with it. That I'm like, I'm just caring for my kid's foot here. It's black and blue and it was swollen 2 days ago. I'm just looking at it. Like, let me care for him. Um, but it felt invalidating to me, right? As a mom, and we had to talk about it. We had to work through it and like, how it made me feel. I know I didn't react the best either. I probably could have reacted a different way, but it was invalidating. Didn't feel good. So another one is minimizing the concerns or feelings of another. And this is where you don't invalidate them. You kind of just totally push them off. Minimizing, though, you're making them seem less than the other person's feeling them. You know, a situation for this might be that, oh, so like one person might say like, you know what, I'm really frustrated with how you talked to the kids last night. I felt like that was being too harsh, and it really was because they were like yelling, right? And it really needed to be a different way. And the other person's like, come on, it was not that bad. Like you're not remembering it well. It didn't go like that. This is not that big of a deal. It's not that much to be concerned about. You're like minimizing their feelings rather than listening to it and really responding to it. I'm like, okay, I can see that. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Like I do need to work on that. I did get really triggered and that wasn't the best way to talk to the kids. It's kind of minimizing it as like it almost makes you feel like you're the crazy one for bringing it up, kind of, when it was actually something that was a concern to you. So it's important that we listen and we validate each other's concerns. Fix it. Now, this is so common. Um, Especially, I've seen it be the female that wants to fix it and the man wants to be listened to. Oftentimes it's the reverse. And men are naturally fixiters. I don't know if that's a word. You know what I mean. Men naturally want to fix it because they are the protector and the provider and they want to feel that role, right? But sometimes when we're sharing things, one partner tends to respond to try to fix it, which results in the other person not feeling listened to. And if that happens over and over and over again repeatedly, sometimes it can like, I don't even know if I want to share this with him because he's not going to listen to me. He's just going to try to fix it. Uh, there's a video that I show sometimes. If you ever want to watch it, I don't have it pulled up here. It's called Nail in the Head. Just go on YouTube and watch that video called Nail in the Head. It explains it beautifully on the Fix It. Over instructing. Oh, are you finding it? No. If you wanted to find it, you can, and we could pull it up in a minute if you have the ability to do that. If not, that's okay. If not, just go find it. Right? Over instructing conveys a lack of trust and confidence in the other's ability to handle life tasks, resulting in the other not feeling safe to take risks. Right? If I'm telling you over and over and over again, like, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, and the other person's like, I got it. Like, just trust me that I got it, and we're not trusting them, then that can create feelings of lack of security too, because it's like, hey, you don't value that I hear you and I can do this, like, and I captured it. They want to feel like they're trusted. So also results. It can result in, all of this can result in low self-esteem, lack of confidence, feeling like you're not good enough, right? And none of those feelings are feelings that want to drive us to that connected circle, right? And want to be in that connected circle. Let me go there so I can feel that low self-esteem. Is that how we work? No. Let me go there so I can feel that lack of confidence. I just love that feeling. Let me go there so I can just feel like I'm not good enough because that's the space that I want to be in. No, it's not, right? So we want to, like, the most important thing in relationships is creating that safe space where people feel loved, people feel valued, and where it's a space that you want to be. And so we want to take care of ourselves physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. If communication is a problem in your relationship, go find a counselor. There are skills that maybe you just did not learn or you need to relearn or repractice in the marriage that they can help. We can help you reshape how communication happens in your relationship, which can reduce a lot of these feelings of lack of safety, so that the circle is somewhere that we actually want to be. All right? Because if it keeps being like this, we just want to walk away, which sometimes, now this is important, we're responsible for the way that we show up into the circle, right? I'm responsible for showing up into the circle in a way that helps you feel safe. Yes? Yes, I'm responsible for that. So if I'm not showing up, thank you. If I'm not showing up in a way that helps you feel safe, then I need to work on that because that's my responsibility. However, our most important goal, and because our most important goal in the marriage is to protect the interactive space. Also, though, if my partner isn't showing up in a way that makes me feel safe, I'm also responsible for protecting the interactive space. And that may look like me saying, I'm not feeling safe right now. Can we please calm this conversation down and talk about it more calmly? If the other person interacts well with that, great. Sometimes that amygdala is going, and the interaction with that may not be very safe feeling for you. And so sometimes it may mean that we have to just say, I'm not feeling safe here. I'm going to exit Like, this conversation is important. When we calm down and can talk about it calmly, I'll come back and engage with you. But then we have to leave that interactive circle, because if we stay in it, we don't feel safe, and it's not a space we want to be. And our biggest goal is to protect that interactive space, so that we keep it being a place that we want to feel, we want to be, because it feels safe to us. So we're responsible both for how we show up in the space, and if someone else is showing up in a way that makes us not safe, we're responsible for communicating that, and either asking for things to change in a way that helps us feel safe, or leaving the space if it's too escalated until things calm down. But then we do want to go back and address whatever it is. And sometimes when we're addressing whatever it is, we have to also talk about, hey, how we talked about this, like, also is something that I am not feeling comfortable with, and something we need to discuss as well, how we're talking about it. I had a counselor one time tell me that what you do as a couple and as a family is not important as how you do it. And I think that is true. How we do what we do is very important. So, biggest goal, protect the circle. And just in wrapping up, like, this is called the intimacy pyramid. We use it a lot with couples after an affair, but I think it's true with any couple. Like, a lot of us, we want to get to the top, to intimacy, right? We want to have closeness, connection with each other, and be passionate. We want to be purposeful. We want to be playful. But sometimes we focus so much on that top block. We want to be there. We want to be there. We want to be there. But we ignore all the rest of it underneath it. And if we have to go back to the bottom layer, especially if trust is not there in your relationship, we have to go back to the very bottom, and we have to build with honesty and safety. So if we don't have honesty and safety together, we can't have trust. If we don't have trust, we don't have vulnerability. If we don't have vulnerability, we don't have intimacy. So we've got to be able to be honest, and it's got to be safe for us too. Those go hand in hand, because if I come to you and try to share something that's honest, that might hurt, that might be difficult, you might not want to hear, like, honey, I didn't appreciate your criticism of me looking at my son's foot because I was concerned about it, and I'm met with a response that doesn't feel safe to me, doesn't feel responsible, reliable, or regulated to me, then am I going to want to approach another conversation? I'm going to be less likely to want to approach another conversation. And then it shuts down honesty in the relationship, shuts down safety, shuts down communication. We can't have trust, and we can't have vulnerability. If we can't share things with each other, we can't have vulnerability, and you need vulnerability for intimacy. There's another picture, a different one. We're not going to go all into it, but the two walls of the house are trust and commitment. And to have that trust, we've got to have that safety. So what's the secret ingredient? Keep the relationship feeling safe and secure. That's it. It's the most important thing. If you're struggling with that in your marriage, and you need some extra help to get it feeling better, that interactive space feeling better, then find a counselor, reach out to a counselor. There are a lot of ways that we can help you, even if you've been married for a long time. We have seen people and relationships improve and grow closer. Some of our retreats that we've had, where we worked with pastors, spouses, and pastoral couples, teacher couples. We just had one couple tell us last week, he's like, you saved my marriage. We went 2 years ago, and that saved my marriage. Another person, an older couple, that said, man, I mean, it's this one's on the video out there, that he said, I felt close to my wife before, but he's like, I have never felt this. She said that she's never felt this close to me. He's like, man, that's just a special thing. So it, we are able as counselors to help and to increase that communication, to help you guys understand what are the reactive patterns that may have developed in our relationship. How do we start changing those reactive patterns to make things a safer and a healthier place to be? And not just safer, but more secure and more connected, closer, to be able to get to more of that intimacy, place that everybody is longs for and wants to be at. In ending this, I did want to say something here, like, is I know some of the things that I shared, a lot of your relationships may be just, great or struggling with kind of some of the normal stuff that we can see. But if there is anyone who is in a situation that is really not safe for you, I just want you to have some resources here. And I'll leave this up. I'll put it back up after the Q&A. Leave it here for just a second. But if you scan the QR code, there's a chat that you can go to that's a domestic violence hotline. There's a phone number here that's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And also, if there's anyone here in the room or listening online, you can come and talk to me after the meeting or text me at this number, and we can meet later today if you're here. If you're not here, happy to have a conversation with you over the phone. So, want to say that in closing. And we're going to pray first and then go into question and answer time. So let's have a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this day that you've blessed us with. And I just pray for each relationship in this room. I pray for the marriages, for the families, for just the individuals, that you could put your blessing upon the relationships, whether it's with their children, whether it's with their spouses, whomever it might be, and that you could draw them closer, help them to be able to create circles of connection that feel safe, circles of interaction that feel safe and protected, where they're secure, where they can be honest and be able to build that trust and that vulnerability and intimacy in the relationship. And we thank you and pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.